I started in one of the second chair executive pastor leadership groups about 5 years ago. My ministry, my leadership, my team has benefited from the relationships that I've had with the other clergy in the group, the other pastors, the other executives, and as well as from that one-on-one time with Mike Bonham. As one of the facilitators of the group, he essentially is like having a personal coach, a leadership coach that you have access to all year long. I can think of so many times where I was working on something mentally, I was struggling, I knew kind of theoretically what I needed to say or do or not, but I couldn't see it all like put together. It was still kind of fuzzy. And he would come in and just in an hour and a half conversation, he would crystal clarify what I had just had floating around. And he could just put it in a way and in words that enabled me to see it, and I could just pick it up and take it and run with it. Mike drew this diagram one time in one of our meetings, and then he and I fleshed that out in a one-on-one meeting. It is a concept of, I guess you could call it of kind of a similar, like a shared purpose or going in the same direction. It's an arrow, and it has to do with, there are lots of little arrows, but then there's this one big arrow, but you can't go, the big arrow won't go forward if all the other little arrows are all going in different directions. And the work of the leadership is to constantly tweak those little arrows and make sure that they're pointing in the same direction so that the whole entity can be moving in that direction. And that image, it gets burned in my brain, and I will constantly be in conversations and I'll use that as an example, and I just draw a big arrow and lots of little arrows, and I'll say our job, what we have to keep doing is tweaking every little arrow. It's not that they're way off, but they're off just enough, and if enough of them are off, then you're not going to be able to move that big arrow forward. And again, it's like it just helps solidify the role of a leader for me, which then helps me explain why I'm tweaking this. Why do you think I'm being obsessed about, correcting this language or double checking why we're doing something and recorrecting and kind of driving it home? It's so that I can make sure we're going in this direction. I feel like I am growing into the leader that God is calling me to be and created me to be. And I know that that's because of the generosity of so many people to TMF and TMF's own management and their own decision making about how they're using their resources. We all have this capacity to lead, and sometimes we just need the opportunity to fulfill that.